What's up, everyone? Just out here in the garage today. I've been messing with the wiring harness for this 55 convertible, and I just wanted to kind of show you some different examples of why you would want to replace your wiring harness. You know, honestly, if money was no object, you probably would just want to just replace everything, but at some point I would like to be able to drive this convertible, and it needs lots of money put into it. So I went through the wiring harness, well, the underdash harness and then the ignition harness, and I've got them both cleaned up and changed some of the original wiring harness tape, put new on there. I still got to do the rear taillight harness, but I got the dash and the ignition harness cleaned up. It looks real good. There's a couple wires that I'm gonna have to replace the ends on, but a friend of mine showed me how to solder the wires together, and then you put heat shrink over them, and then it's magic. It's like nothing was ever wrong with them. But let's look at the wiring harnesses. This is the ignition harness out of the car, and you can see, looks like it's in great condition. Right here, this is for the oil pressure sensor, and I think maybe the ballast resistor, which really is no big deal. But you can see all the connectors. I took them apart and cleaned them, and a little bit of vinegar, and then kind of wash them off with baking soda and water. So that's looking all good. And then here's the actual dash wiring harness. But you could see, everything come out real good, and everything's still soft. The wires aren't brittle. I don't think this convertible led a very hard life. So I'm going to try to put this wiring harness back in the car and put some power to it. But this harness right here is the original one out of this car. And when I first started messing with it, I couldn't get the taillights to work, and then I got the taillights to work, and then I couldn't get no brake lights. So I got up underneath there and started looking, and it had stuff like this. And that isn't that big of a deal, but it looks kind of nasty. That just goes to the headlights. But the more you look at it, it just had a lot of things like this going on. And look at how that one has been melted off where it got hot. These are all red flags that you need a complete wiring harness. You could see even this one. See how it's twisted? That's been hot. And this right here is actually why I couldn't get tail lights or brake lights. Look, it's just shot. And then more problems. This is all out of my red 1955 Nomad. The wiring harness, it even had some of them little twist ties that you put on your house wiring. So that was one of the reasons why I replaced this entire harness. But if we spin back over to the convertible harness, you can look at all the plugins. Nothing's got hot. Everything's more or less lived a pretty happy life. All the connectors they all look good. So I'm going to try that. Put some power to it. And see if we can get stuff to work. But it actually come out pretty decent. And there's on one of these tripods, if you never did it before, there's like maybe like 5 or 6 individual little small wiring harnesses, and everything kind of plugs into this plug-in or piggybacks off the firewall itself. So you just got to take your time and make sure you know where to plug them in at, so you don't overload nothing or rob power for something else. So anyways, that all looks pretty good. But this one right here, a little history on this car. I bought this car from the guy who bought this car brand new. The original owner really, really loved this car, this 55 Nomad, and he essentially kept it till maybe 2003 or something like that. It's originally from Virginia. So that explains one old guy that just kept, patching it along through the years. He loved it so much he didn't want to get rid of it. He just wanted to keep, keeping it running. And it actually had like a little pull switch under the dash that once I got it all figured out, it had to have been to pull that to show brake lights, at nighttime. So he was probably the one responsible for all that spaghetti right there. But that car's got a brand new wiring harness in it now, so everything works. It's all happy. But I'm going to try to get the harness in this car because I'm still waiting on the top. That could be here next week, next month, next year. It's just so hard to say. So anyways, that's just a little quick update on the wiring harness. Like I said, when I first started, you'd pull them out and you could see how green some of them terminals would look. But this is the old junk harness. But you just take them apart, clean them up, and they're essentially good as new in there. So anyways, if I can make that work, that's going to save me $700. And if it gives me problems, I'll pull it back out. So anyways, I hope this was something informative to you guys. If you're, a lot of us try to work on these cars ourselves because you take them to a shop and you're going to have way more on that car than it's actually worth. Plus, when I'm off, I just come out here and tinker in the garage.